Welcome to ETHDam, to ETHDam, to ETHDam, to ETHDam, to ETHDam.
Hello, hello, hello. As someone who tells everybody their secrets, I'm very excited for the next talk. So we've got our next speaker, Pedro, who's going to be speaking. Their talk will be Bring Your Own Secrets, but Shout Them Out Loud. How to Bring Privacy to a Public Blockchain. So welcome, Pedro.
Hello. Just gonna grab the clicker here. Oh, sorry, I just arrived yesterday. I was like, nice town. Yeah, I love this. Glad to be here. Yeah, I'm just gonna tell you who you are, right? Okay, that's first thing, right here. You are now a node. Okay. Maybe you're like, yeah, but I'll try again. Okay, you are. You are a transit state in space-time. Does that make a bit more sense? Did I start not very well, right? It's not a great start. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing here. Sorry. Yeah, thanks for attending. Okay, I'm just gonna start from the beginning. Okay. But yeah, let's forget about all of this. Let's go start with the actual agenda. To first, gonna talk about UTXOs, okay? And then I'm gonna talk about like who you are. So hopefully that will make a bit more sense then. And then about this thing that we're trying all to build, like this world's most expensive timestamp clock machine, whatever, and then finally about like keeping these secrets that I was talking about. So yeah, maybe that will make more sense. I don't know, but like, why UTXOs? Like, what is an UTXO? First thing, right? It's like, let's just talk about that a little bit. See Alice? She's holding a 20 euro bill, so I guess in Amsterdam that's enough for a coffee or something, you know. And basically, and there's this Bob. It's not very happy guy, I guess. And then Alice will pay Bob €5 again, just for a bottle of water, you know. And basically, there's a transaction that is gonna be spent that Alice had and that was not spent. So basically she's saying, yeah, I'm going to spend this, I'm going to destroy this 20 euro bill and I'm going to create a €5 bill that will go to this person. And they're like, well, where's the change? Well, the change is another transaction that goes back. Actually, two transactions that go back. A 10 and a €5 bill. So this is basically all of these bills are unspent transactions. So you probably know this already because this is a fundamental of Bitcoin. And that's why Bitcoin is a UTXO based blockchain. So this €5 bill is thinking, who is it? Who am I? And this is where I wanna come to. This is just an incoming transaction that was not spent yet, just waiting to be spent. And my goal here is to tell you that you are also an incoming transaction that is waiting to be spent. And you're like, what does this have to do with Aztec? But I'm gonna go there. So first of all, why did we move away from this? Right? Seems okay. It seems like it imitates cash very well, and that's why Bitcoin white paper was called peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Well, sequencing sucks, right? That's the first thing. Like, there's an order. An order really sucks when you need to do things, and this is very common in Aztec, where you actually have public and private transactions, and you just can't assume something has happened just because it has happened in private. That's a bit more complicated than that, because you don't actually know when something happened, just know that it did. And you also don't know where, how, or which contract, anything. And then, yeah, Turing is also not happy because, yeah, you can say, oh, I can hold these many transactions and that's it. Then at some point when it runs out, I just cut a new block. But if you need programmability, that's a bit harder to do. And then, yeah, UX is great, right? I don't know if you ever tried to use Bitcoin like the actual network. It doesn't. Yeah, it's not a great experience, right? Especially if you go into Lightning Network. So gas, right? There's this guy that came in with this idea of gas. What is gas? I'll try to explain what I mean this time. But basically, gas is how you define all the operations in your transaction. So you can actually have some programmability. You can say, yeah, every operation has a cost, and so I'm just going to sum up all of those costs, and then when I reach a certain amount, and I say, okay, I can't hold more cost, I can't hold more gas, I can't spend more gas, then you cut a new block. So this is what time looks like, right? So if we have a gas-powered virtual machine that works differently from UTXO machine, you have block N, which has a world state as you know it, as everyone knows it. There's a consensus mechanism that makes sure that everyone knows what the world state is at a certain point in time. That's why it's a very expensive timestamp machine. And then you just have some high gas shitcoin transaction, like someone is buying, I don't know, some kind of meme coin or whatever, and just paying a ton of gas, and that goes into the world state and generates a new state. And so once you say, okay, I can just process more gas, sorry, then you cut a new block. You create a new block. You create a new state, and everyone will agree on that state. Okay, so I'm just explaining Ethereum basically. That's it. Why is this a problem now? Like, hasn't this been working well so far? Yeah, but also no, because privacy. That's why. If you need to agree on every transaction that goes into a state, so you can calculate the next state, then everyone needs to know what goes into each state, right? So that's why blockchain is useless. Right? Basically, if if you scream every single transaction for everyone to hear, so they can calculate what's the next state will be, then everyone needs to know what's next, what's every transaction. How's that useful? It's not, right? That doesn't make any sense. So privacy is actually a big deal, right? I mean, there's this little book that I guess no one has heard about, the Declaration of the Human Rights, that says that no one can actually interfere with your correspondence and family and home and just privacy in general, So that's just a human right. I'm not talking about something like the tinfoil hat stuff, So if we go back to basics and talk and ask who are we? Who are you? Well, it kind of depends, right? Because first of all, you need to define who are you in terms of time, the present. What is present? But now that you gave up, because we also don't have a ton of time, you have to consider the past in order to consider the existence of the present. There's no present, actually. Present is just a past that has happened an infinite amount of time just before now, right? So it's very hard to define present. It's something that doesn't really exist. If you try to define future, you can actually pick a future that you can reason about. But yeah, I mean, you still need to agree on what is time. You can define something in the future, but we need to agree on a clock. We can say 10:39. There's a clock. I can go through there. You all can go through there, and that's fine. Actually, and then we need to understand that we are social beings. Like, nothing stops you from using another kind of clock. That's fine. You just won't really work with me, right? So actually, I think it was here in Amsterdam that the clocks were just using a different way to count time. So you would just come here, and just align yourself with the city, and just use a different way of counting time, and that's no problem, right? As long as people agree, that's fine. Then the English came with the Greenwich Mean Time, and just I guess use a system that works everywhere. So you are an UTXO, and yeah, actually, yeah, I have a slide about that. Like, yeah, before 1909, you actually your pocket watch wasn't valid anymore when you were right here. The tic tac, the clock, it's just a timestamp machine that we agree on. So wait, I am a UTXO now. You are, right? And because like physics says that you do have a deterministic position, velocity. Yeah, you can represent yourself in UTXO if you choose a timestamp to measure it. You can say, I'm here now, as long as we agree where is now. Biologists also say that, yeah, your blood pressure is whatever, you're burning this amount of calories. Same thing. You can say, yeah, I can choose a timestamp to say at this point in time, my blood pressure is something like that. I don't know that. You probably don't know that as well. That's private, right? But you're still UTXO as long as you can represent yourself in time, in biology terms. What I say, because I'm also, no, I'm not. Yeah, your brain holds a ton of memories as well. And just the same, I don't know what you're thinking about. I don't know what memories you have. You also don't know which memories I have. So I can represent myself, and you can represent yourself in UTXO terms if you choose a timestamp. You don't know what your next thought is going to be, right? So finally, what the hell is this? This has to do with Aztec, right? And that's it. There's a decoupling between what is state and what is a transaction. You can define yourself as an UTXO, and no one needs to know everything about yourself. So has to be blockchain. So basically, going back to the beginning, you are just like a transient state in space-time. I don't know everything about you, and I don't need to know. I just need to know what's the outcome of what you're thinking. What's the outcome of your blood pressure? What's the outcome of your position in this room? I don't need to know anything else. I just need to know what has become of you. So yeah, how do we make a better timestamp machine? So yeah, I'm gonna talk about UTXOs. Like, we kicked out UTXOs and then they come back with Aztec. So why is this again? And again, your representation yourself, it just can't be kept as a leaf in a Merkle tree. We want more. We just want the tree to be true without knowing what's coming into the tree. So we thought Ethereum is not good enough. Again, you are encoded with your secrets in real life. And you need to advance state. You need to shout, because everyone needs to know what the next state will be. So you can agree on a timestamp. No leaking, right? If you leak, then your privacy is gone. Here's a case study for a game on Aztec called Frogland. It's like a kind of Magic the Gathering mechanics. You can attack and whatever. And all the stats are kept private even when we're fighting. How do you prove that your Frogland survived an attack without revealing what is current health, right? In Ethereum, you would have to know what is the amount of the attack. But in real life, if you're fighting someone, there is no stat on top of you. You're not screaming, you're not shouting to everyone on Ethereum to know what's your attack, I don't know, like rate or something like that. You don't know. That's not how real life works. So that's not how blockchain should work, right? So if you have an attacking player, an ephemeral attacker, you just encrypt that to an ephemeral defender, and which makes the change of state in private and then goes back and encrypts itself back to the attacker, and so on and so forth. And so this is some pseudocode of that. It's actually quite old. We don't use these macros anymore. But yeah, I guess that's a bit of an idea. Just encrypt your attack to the other person and just shout that in private. Shout that in private, right? So yeah, keep your secrets. You cannot forget privacy. You can't offload privacy. And you have to do your own privacy. You can't hire someone to just do it for you. So everyone is like, we can do privacy. No, you can't. If you hand it to someone else, you can't, right? Sorry, you have to do it yourself. Actually, how do we even onboard the next billion if we care about that? If we're just making everything public, like, are we mad? Are we mad? Like, what are we doing here? We're just like giving everything. Yeah, you can't trust anyone, right? Your node will leak. Everything will leak. So yeah, if you want something done, please do it yourself, and that's what we are doing with Aztec. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for attending my TED Talk. Okay, I'm joking. And here are some things about me. Oh, I don't use Telegram anymore. Sorry. Yeah. Signal, please. That's it. Thank you for attending.